him. So it was just things like that along the way kept showing me something wasn't right. I didn't have anything to go on. I had no resources. I started finding bottles of alcohol hidden in his clothes when I would put up his clothes. And I remember saying to him, "What's this big bottle of Crown Royal doing in your closet?" And he said, "Well, I got it at a golf tournament. Sometimes at night I put a little bit in my Diet Coke, it helps me sleep better." Again, what do you do? Who do you say? Who do you tell? I say now my message is please tell one person. I never told one person. Grant never got a surgery to correct anything that was wrong with him other than a nose surgery because his nose was broken and crooked and needed to be fixed. He did have that surgery. But he never got a knee replacement. He never had surgery on his back. All of those things were constant chronic problems with him. He had chronic health issues all through his retirement, never got them surgically corrected, but always had an ongoing prescription for a painkiller. The man that I loved and had married and was so bright and, made good decisions and was safe and smart and all of the things that I knew when I went into the marriage slowly changed. I still loved him, don't get me wrong. I stayed married to him for 29 years. I kept thinking that the Grant that I knew and married was going to come back. And by that time, we had kids,
Yeah.
So I call it a slow fade. And I didn't even realize he had CTE until after he was dead and it was autopsied. His brain was autopsied. He talked about, at the very end, maybe I have what Mike Webster had. Maybe I have what Junior Seau had. One of his good friends had just died of a snap-out heart viral thing that was very unusual. And his family had his brain autopsied, and it came back as CTE right before Grant died. So CTE was on his mind, and he had been looking at it, talking about it, and I truly think that line that's in the book that says, if I'd only known what I loved the most, would have killed me and ended up taking away everything I loved, I would have never done it. I think he was talking about football. And I know that he was smart enough to know that if he'd had the scientific evidence that we've had now, he would have never done anything to take himself away from me and our children. He loved us. He didn't know. Yeah. And I'm telling you, when I looked up the CTE symptoms on the Mayo Clinic's website after he died, and it came back that his autopsy showed he had stage 3 CTE. That's not, there's 4 stages. He had stage 3. It was difficulty thinking, impulsive behavior, depression, short-term memory loss, difficulty planning and carrying out tasks, emotional instability, substance abuse, irritability, aggression, speech difficulties, motor impairment, vision and focus problems, trouble with smell, and dementia. Grant had all of those symptoms in our lifetime. It blew my mind. I say I had to lay back on the bed and bawl and cry because I could not believe when I started thinking in my brain about all the stories that had happened and the unanswered questions that answered it for me. I don't know. It's just been such a journey. It's all I can say is a journey. I could have laid in bed and cried and killed myself, I guess. I thought about it.
Cyndy, can you talk a little bit about how you're doing these days and how the role that your faith has played in all of this?
Yes. Thank goodness God is always the answer for me. Hang on. I'm sorry. Maybe one of these days I'm going to be able to talk about this and not lose it. But, it's just real. It's real. Yeah. And at the end of the day, the story is still the same. Grant's still dead. So my faith, listen, I couldn't still be here without my faith. Thank God I had a great family, a great Christian family who has loved me unconditional for everything and a core group of friends that has never left my side. I say Christian therapy. If you're going through anything like this, you can't do it alone. I tried to do it alone. I was a terrible codependent, and that's a whole nother topic, but I was a terrible codependent for years, cleaning up all of the messes and trying to project that we had a perfect life. Terrible what I did. But I never told anybody. It wasn't until the very end that I got into, the last 7 years of our marriage, I got into therapy and started journaling, and I'd say, they all saved my life. And, a support group. I ended up getting into a support group at my church. Support groups I highly recommend. But just telling someone is so huge, because that person can be your lifeline to get you to some other help. So I just say that God has protected me all along the way, and I believe in the Bible, and I believe that God knew everything about me before I was ever born, and Grant too, and knew that this story was going to happen and that we were going to walk through this. I completely believe that God knew that I could carry on Grant's legacy. That's what I'm trying to do. We ended when I was mad, sad, and angry, and he didn't know what was going on with him. I mean, it was not a good ending. It was a very tragic ending, but we made amends before he died, which was, as I say, the only way I've been able to keep on going, is knowing that I forgave him and he forgave me. So, there was a moment there at the end in the book that I talk about, laying by him in the bed at the hospital with a DNR bracelet, and him knowing that he was at the end of his life, but had his wits about him enough to say, I love you, I'm sorry, and me too. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying there's a lot of peace in that. A lot of people don't get that. I got that. So I believe he's in heaven, and I know he's healed and set free. And I have that picture in my mind of him saying, you go, girl, down here. He knew I could. And I think that, I like to say that I'm honoring his legacy by telling his story.
I was struck by and somewhere in the book you had written that while he wouldn't want to be remembered this way, he would want for you to tell other people about this.
Yes, and I think I have the ability to do that because, God blessed me with the gift of gab, to talk. And I think that that's good. Maybe my whole life it hadn't been good, when I was getting B's in citizenship in elementary school. But it's turned out that this is a good thing, that I like to talk, and I think I make a connection with people. I'm a people person, and I just feel that every single person, including you, that I talk to, that I feel like that there's a connection, and I just think that that's good, really good.
Mm-hmm. Cyndy, is there anything that we haven't discussed yet that you want to make sure is told?
I would like to talk about the fact that I have a website, and that it is afterthecheeringstops.com, and I have another website, CyndyFeasel.com. Those are some to-go places for people to look, just to hear more about my story before, maybe they go buy the book or whatever. You can buy the book from the website, so that's great, and you can download a chapter to read. I like all of that, but I also like to say some resources where, I think that it's good for people to know that I'm not only talking about it, but I'm trying to direct people where to go if they're having any kind of issues that, they think that they need to help. So I'm just saying that Dr. Daniel Amen wrote the afterword to my book, and he has clinics all over the United States and has done a lot of research on the brain, and he's at the AmenClinics.com. So I always like to give people a little, not a little, but at least a place where they can go to get some information about the brain. Some parents are going to be looking at your article and listening to me on the radio or TV, and they're going to be trying to make a decision about what they want to do for their loved ones. So I like to think that my book is going to be a long-standing go-to kind of book where people can go pull it off the shelves and buy it whenever they have questions about, wonder why my child is acting abnormal, or why my spouse might be acting abnormal, because this is not just a disease that happens to people that go to the NFL. This is a disease that happens to people, to people's children.
Yeah.
And I'm part of a group now called Save Your Brain, and it's made up by women who have lost their children, and they're CTE victims. So I'm just trying to make people aware that there are go-to places. Back when Grant and I were going through this, I didn't have or know any place to go. I didn't have any resources. I also think that the Heads Up website, the CDC Heads Up website, that's CDC, like the, Center of Disease Control. Their Heads Up website is a great website to go to. So I'm just trying to give people some resources. I say the Mayo Clinic. You can never go wrong with the Mayo Clinic. So the Mayo Clinic is a great place to go and research concussions and brain injuries as well. I'm just trying to make people see that we Google everything else, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't we want to Google this if we had questions about our family and trying to decide, what we want to do about our kids in sports? I guess more than anything, I'm just trying to make people realize that this is a real disease, and it's sports-induced. So it's a degenerative disease as well. So you just don't wake up one day and go, oh, I had all the symptoms of CTE. I mean, it happened over the course of Grant's lifetime. That's what I tried to show in the book.
Yeah.
As well as the addiction. I mean, on his death certificate, it says cirrhosis of the liver. So Grant died of cirrhosis, and you and I both know that unless it's just a freak deal, like you just get a cirrhosis of the, I mean, I know people get cirrhosis that never drank, just like people get lung cancer that never smoked. So, I understand that can happen, but you and I both know that the majority of people that get cirrhosis of the liver have been drinking their whole life.
Yeah.
It's degenerative. I mean, it goes on for a long time. So, we didn't just wake up one day at the end of our marriage at 29 years and go, gee, what happened? I mean, it happened our whole life. So that's what I'm trying to show in the book, that it was a trail of tears. That's all the time for today. Cyndy's website is cyndyfeasel.com. Cyndy is spelled Cyndy. Feasel is Feasel. You can find out more about Cyndy and Grant and a little bit about her speaking opportunities for churches and so forth. Thank you for listening.